Before we get into the live stream, I wanted to give some instant reaction to Seattle's 2 picks. They've taken Devon Witherspoon with the 5th overall pick, and they've then taken Jaxon Smith-Njibga with the 20th overall pick. It's really interesting. I just find this a really interesting pair of picks here. To go into the first round, and we all felt, look, defensive line or potentially a franchise quarterback. I think most people felt that. And to come out of the draft without either of those positions being addressed is very interesting. But look, I've got no problem with either of these picks. Devon Witherspoon is the most violent player in the draft. He is a really fun player to watch. He is perhaps not the pick that a lot of people were hoping for. You know, all of the people that were hoping for Jalen Carter are going to be disappointed. All of the people that were hoping for a quarterback are going to be disappointed. But just go and watch the highlights tape because you get a little flavour of what he's about. He's a cornerback who can be very sticky in coverage. He can cover on the short range. He can run deep with people. But the thing that really, really impresses me, and this is one of the reasons why I think they're taking him, is he just absolutely hammers people. He is a BAMF Banff. And it's not just the fact that he can shed somebody and then explode against the running game and hammer someone for a tackle for a loss. He can be like a heat-seeking missile and work through traffic and hammer somebody. He is very, very good at those crossing routes that the Rams and the 49ers just use constantly. He will sprint across the formation, follow a slot receiver, a nimble player, and he will get there with perfect timing and he'll hit them hard and leave a mark. So I think it's a good pick. I think he's a really solid player. He's a culture player. You know, one of the things we've talked about throughout this process is character matters for the Seahawks. That they are going to go big on character, that is going to be their focus. They want people who are going to help set the culture. They want the new set of leaders, and they clearly feel that this guy can help be, a tone setter for them. A year ago, I think it was pretty obvious that they were willing to consider Derek Stingley at number 9 and Sauce Gardner. So we kind of knew that their position had changed on cornerbacks. They'd look for shorter arm cornerbacks, and Devon Witherspoon's not a tall, long, big cornerback either. I'm really interested to see how he gets on. I think he's going to go in there. He's going to be a firebrand. He is going to be in that locker room. I think a big voice, a big character, a big leader. And, I had him as going 6th to Detroit. He was one of only 9 players that I had on my board, on my horizontal board, with a legit first-round grade. And they took him. And they've said they were going to go best player available. They said they were going to focus on character. And that's what they've done. They've taken Devon Witherspoon. So I like that pick. Jaxon Smith-Njibga, I didn't think they were going to take Jaxon Smith-Njibga. I thought that the lack of suddenness and long speed would be a bit of an issue. I've kind of been calling him slow Golden Tate because I do think he plays quite similar to Tate. He's just not the same speed runner. But you have to admit, his agility testing was superb. That game against Utah in the Rose Bowl, feels like the last time we saw him play, was unbelievable, incredible. I remember watching that game thinking, who the hell's this guy? He's better than Chris Olave. He's better than Garrett Wilson. Can't wait to see him next year. Barely played because of a hamstring injury. And I think that has been a bit of a question mark for a lot of teams, really. Like, why didn't he play? Could he have got out there towards the end of the year and helped his team, maybe? Not sure. Was he sort of focusing on the NFL a little bit too soon? But regardless, not someone I expected them to take. But how can you not be interested by it? How can you not be intrigued by the pick? Just to see him out there as a third receiver, somebody who a lot of people were saying was a top 15 pick. A lot of people had him going 13 to the Packers. People before this whole, season began were talking about him as a top 10 pick. The Seahawks clearly had a good grade on him, and they've stuck to their board, and they are determined to go best player available. They are rebuilding. I know people, they say it's not a rebuild. People say it's not a rebuild, that are in win now mode. They're building a roster. They're trying to add talent. And if they've got Jaxon Smith-Njibga rated as one of the top players on their board, they're right to take him. And now you've got DK Metcalf, you've got Tyler Lockett, you've got Jaxon Smith-Njibga, you've got tight ends, you've got bookend young tackles. There's a lot to really like there about this offense that they've brought in over the last few years. So I'm interested to see how he plays. I'm interested to see if he can live up to sort of the lofty expectations that quite a few smart people had for him coming into the league. And I like both picks. It's not necessarily what I expected. It's not what anybody expected. They generally tend to keep you guessing, and they've done that again. They didn't trade down, just like last year. They stuck and pick, and they've taken best player available. So moving on, and we'll talk a bit about this in the stream with Robbie, but they haven't drafted anybody for the trenches. Defensive line is exactly the same now with the first round picks out the way than it was yesterday. And, you look and there are still options out there, but, Will McDonald's gone, Will Anderson's gone, Tyree Wilson's gone. I know people say it's a deep edge class and there's a lot of options there. I'm sure they'll go and get one, but there's nobody who really sort of stands out. I mean, like Derek Hall maybe, Nolan Smith. But the option's not great there. They've got interior defensive linemen. Of course, they've got the pick 37. They've got pick 52. Maybe they'll trade up from one of those picks to go and make sure they address this need. But that's going to be a bit of a priority now. And they haven't added any extra picks. So day 2 could be a D-line day. And I'm interested to see if they do eventually address the quarterback position, which they haven't done in this first round. I will always wonder what they would have done if Anthony Richardson was there, because I mocked him to Seattle and I thought they would have really liked him, but he was taken by the Colts. Will Levis has fallen. They've passed him twice, which says to me they're not interested in him. We'll see what happens with Hendon Hooker, but a bit of instant reaction to the first round picks. Let me know what you think about them in the comment section. Like the video, join us for the live stream in a moment. I'll be doing a few of these throughout the weekend. And check out the live stream a bit, SeahawksDraftBlog.com for more analysis.